In a quick follow-up to the frontal lens discussion, I want to talk about these. A couple of years ago, I had I don't want to call it a monitor failure, but I had a monitor damage done to a LED backlit laptop that I have. And in fixing it, or in having it fixed, very easily and cheaply, actually. And if you ever have to fix a monitor in a laptop, go see if you can find your type of screen on eBay. They're usually like $80, and it's pretty easy to take apart a frame and then just plug in a new monitor or a new screen. Either way, that meant I had a no longer functional, though very pretty when turned on, screen. So I took it apart, and you'll eventually find these in your troubles. And well, for starters, you have this. This is a translucent material. It doesn't do anything tricky optically. It just turns bright things into just slightly bright, dispersive things. Then we have these two things, which are actually incredibly interesting. If you feel them, you can tell that they're working on the same basic idea as the TV or my little wallet magnifying glass. You can feel the ridges. This is obviously some sort of lensing property. Fortunately, it's got a little bend in it from how it was stored. And they both do something pretty bizarre in terms of images. From playing with them a bit, the best I could ever figure out is that they take two images from seemingly 45 degrees and kind of parallel them. I'm not entirely sure. I do know that they seem to do them rotated from each other, so if this one does it this way, this one does it that way. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on, though I know what they're supposed to do. In LED backlit screen, if it's not something with it's called a field array, I think. If it's not field array, which is where you have lots of LEDs behind the screen, then it's usually edge lit, which this screen was edge lit, which means you have a strip of LEDs all along the bottom of it. And through the layering, I assume, of these strange optical things, you can get evenly lit backlight across a large area from a single strip along the edge. I'm not entirely sure on that. That is to say, I wouldn't quote myself on that. That's the best I can figure out. It seems like that's what it does, but either way, I just think in addition to the magnifying abilities of Fresnel lenses, you can do some pretty strange stuff if you decide not to just cut a lens and thin it out. So like I was saying before, if you have a lens and you're removing those intersections, you basically get that. But you can make those curves basically anything you want, especially if you're doing something like this, which means you can do thin sheets of materials that have optical properties that are very much not that. Either way, you get some pretty strange things. So I'm pointing the camera 45 degrees at the ground, and yet it's giving me an image that is parallel with the ground. And up here, you can see the same image that's parallel with the ground by aiming the camera 45 degrees up. And then there's some sort of void in the middle. I'm not really sure what it is. And this one does, again, the same thing, but it does it, I think, left-right, or, yeah, it does left-right in a really weird way. Either way, these are really cool. If it doesn't sound like I'm endorsing taking apart broken things, I'm endorsing taking apart broken things. That is to say, if you know that there's no danger in them. Don't take apart a big CRT if it's running, because there's high voltages and whatnot. So there is a pump in a CRT. If I had a CRT, I would, well, whatever, that's a story for another time. Either way, you can get very cool things from this. And taking apart that large rear screen projection also got a fine set of very large beefy lenses, which are really fun. Either way, I think I'm done with this video as well. And if you have any ideas what to do with these weird things, or if you know how exactly they work in precise, excruciating detail, please tell me. I'd love to know.